everybody. Welcome to Randi Sands, the mediumship crew. You may have noticed that we haven't done anything for about a month. I know I needed a spiritual reset, and I'm sure a bunch of us were able to use the time to kind of rejuvenate and come back better, hopefully, than before. And it's good to be back. I missed everybody. And I think we've got a pretty good segment for tonight. Colleen actually suggested this one. So if anybody has any suggestions for segments coming up, please let me know. Let me know. So tonight is on getting back to basics regarding our spirituality, our spiritual gifts. You know, it can be all encompassing. And I think that we're just going to open up the floor because I don't know what happened, but I heard that somebody had an experience this weekend. So I'm going to open up the floor and we'll let it rip. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Dawn.
let me not call names. Hey, Dawn, how would you like to go first?
Well, I can tell you that I need to meditate more and meet with my gatekeeper so things that happened to me yesterday don't happen again.
What
And
happened?
I was trying to be a medium for our church, and my grandmother came through. And I am a firm believer that I don't like to give family messages because A, I can do it anytime. B, I know about my family. What else can I possibly tell my family? And my grandmother wouldn't let me not tell my mother the message. With that being said, this is the first time my grandmother has talked to me. As in, I actually heard her voice. I've always felt her presence or knew she was around by feeling her. But so not only was it Mother's Day, which is always an emotional day for me, but it was also my grandmother came through for my mother in the middle of church, and I ended up crying and I ran out of church.
Okay.
So
you poor baby.
It was. My boundaries is, yes, come to me, Grandma, not during church. Church is not for me to go to my family members. It's for other people. I can call my mom. I can call my brother. I can whatever, but not in church. So now I'm on the journey of getting to meet my gatekeeper and setting stronger boundaries.
I hope you weren't too hard on yourself because A, you weren't trying to be a medium. You are a medium. Okay, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, as mediums, we can all have those emotional moments. It was an inopportune time, but guess what? It was Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And she knew your boundaries, but it was Mother's Day.
My grandma was very headstrong, even in life. So it was her way or no way.
And I'll tell you a secret. Even if you were meditating and everything else, it very well still may have happened because it was Mother's Day.
Right.
And she wasn't going to take no for an answer.
True.
And you know what? Nobody faults you.
No, but I felt my ego went like I felt stupid. I felt, what did you do that for? You didn't have to run away. What are you doing? Yeah.
And it's interesting because I was there, right? And in the moment, I didn't know how to best handle the situation. And I just was kind of dumbfounded. What I should have done, and now I will do going forward when a medium is in trouble ahead of me, is go, Dawn, let me take this one. You sit down for a minute. And so it was a learning experience for me. It was a learning experience for you. And it was Mother's Day.
And guess what? We're mediums. We're not perfect.
I know. I mean, at the end of the day, I was happy because I heard her voice again. But I just wish it wasn't during me being a medium at church that it happened.
But you know what? That's how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
And now going forward, if that ever happens again, you won't do this. You won't have the same reaction.
Right.
And sometimes it just sucks because it's not the most opportune moment. And we just kind of lose it for a moment. But you know what? You'll be better next time. Congratulations. You'll be better next time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have Tiffany can't talk, so she just texted me and wanted me to talk for her. Tiffany is growing hugely with her mediumship. She is on the verge of doing physical mediumship.
Wow.
I'm so very proud of her. And she healed for the first time yesterday.
Good for her.
I mean,
Good for her.
she does distant healing, but it's her first. The hands, we're not doing hands on yet due to COVID, but
Right.
we're doing hands off, but still near the body. And it's her first time. So
That's fabulous.
she's gonna
Good
be
job, Tiff.
she's doing awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about basics, because there is all of us practice differently. Our gifts work in different ways, our minds work in different ways. Everything is, we're not all like from a cookie cutter. So we all have different basics to a certain degree. So let's talk about our basics. How do we get back to basics, guys?
I think it has a lot to do with what is our strengths. So we go back to what is our strengths. So like for me, clairsentient, clairaudience are my strengths. And then spirit works with the other clairs per se. So getting back to the basics means, okay, let's work on some of the other skills. Because if I work on those skills, for some reason, my stronger ones become even stronger because I'm focused on something else. And I'm doing a basic skill. Sometimes it's just getting back to sitting and meditating or spending time with your guides.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm getting into trouble with mediumship and serving spirit, it's because I'm not spending the time with spirit.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
For me, because my path is a little bit different than, I guess my path is more the spiritualism, the spiritual side of it, not so much. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but I do.
That's okay. Say it.
I know I'm a medium. I know I'm a healer.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my path is becoming the reverend that I want to become and teaching it the spiritual side of everything. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm meditating. I got to get my boundaries back into order. But learning about the spiritual side of things as well.
Okay. Tammy?
I think most of mine is just experience and trusting spirit and letting spirit guide me to what's next for me. When I was younger and, probably 20 years old, I read a lot of books, stuff like that. All the books started, like you say, it's not a cookie cutter thing, that all the books that you read are cookie cutter. They all sound basically the same. And until you start letting spirit let you experience things different, I think, you would, if you just went by the books and did what the books said, you would be stuck. You have to, it comes to a point where you have to trust spirit. And when it takes you out of your comfort zone, you have to say, I'm jumping in and you better have my back. But you find that you learn and you grow so much more when you do that. And at first it's scary, because you're human and you don't want to just jump into something that frightens you.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, like with you, Dawn, I was in a church service. I probably had only been there a couple months. Oh no, a couple years, sorry. And there was a lady there that I came close to that passed away. And she was like, kind of like a bag lady. She picked up things and put them in her bag on her way home and stuff like that. And I was in church and my heart started beating. I'm like, what's this? And I'm asking spirit, what's this? And it's all of a sudden it's Joanne McGarry is here. And that's who the lady was. And it was like, oh no, I'm not giving any messages here. And the more I said no, the harder my heart was beating. And it was beating 5 times harder than if you ran around the block 2 times. I thought that I was going to have to call an ambulance. But I tapped Joe on the leg and I said, I've got to say something. And he says, not here, not now, because the sermon's going on. And I said, I have to. I don't have a choice. It's like she was so in my energy field that I was going to have to give this message or I was going to have a heart attack. So I moved up to the front of the church and I gave the minister a little one of these. And she says, she stopped the sermon. She says, Tammy, do you have something to say? And I said, actually, I do. I says, but she wants me to come up there. Come up to where the minister was talking from the podium. And because this lady, she liked to read the daily word and stuff. She liked to be the center of attention and stuff. So she says, well, come on up. Mind you, I still have no idea what the message is. I don't, she hasn't given me anything. Okay. I'm just doing what she's wanting me to do. So I get up there at the podium and it's Earth Day. No wonder she came through, like Mother's Day with your grandmother, okay? Earth Day, she comes through and she says, if on your way home from church, this is what comes out of my mouth. If on your way home from church, you see a plastic bottle on the ground or a bag caught in a bush, waving in the wind, pick it up, take it home, dispose of it properly. That was the message. Thank you very much. And I went back to my seat. I had no choice. I was going to have a heart attack if I didn't do it, So spirit will take you out of your comfort zone. But you know what? At the end of the day, it was like, it so needed to happen. So I knew what it felt like when the spirit was actually close enough to me that it felt like I was jumped, right? Okay. And I had no choice but to do exactly what the spirit wanted me to do. And it wasn't harmful, it could have been, but I mean, it wasn't, a terrible thing. It was just new to me and I didn't know how to handle it. And so it was a huge learning experience. And yet it was still great to be able to channel her. I was definitely channeling her energy. And I grew, and that's what it's all about. It's just going with the flow. Spirit says jump, say how high, scared to death or not. Now I don't have the fear because it's happened so many times. I just say, you better freaking have my back, and I'll do it. But other than that, it's all just a learning experience, what was a basic, starting from when you just open up. And from there, some people meditate, some people can't meditate. Okay, some people need to do something that's just mindless or be running around and stuff like that to get that energy going. So it is different from everybody else. And I think you just need to let it happen and grow with it.
Amen. So we have 4 other people. Does anybody, let's see, we have Sebastian and Lester, Tiffany, and Michelle. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add?
I mean, I think staying present and centered is pretty big. I like to dance, jam out to music before I start readings or anything. I'll be dancing around my house like a loony bin just to get my energy up, and raise my vibes, kind of clear out the stale ones.
Good
For me,
you.
it's just staying present and centered, observing without having a opinion, I guess. That's for me. I mean, that's a big basic for me.
Oh, I'd love
That's
to see
kind of-
Sebastian dancing around the house.
I do. I do.
A lot of people do, actually.
Uh-huh.
I'll be dancing and singing, whatever. It's my house.
That's right, baby. You do what you do.
Right.
I
Anyone
love
else?
it. And I want to kind of say
Yes.
that, like, I love that idea because I've been trying to I live in the woods. So I've been trying to walk in the woods a lot more lately. I have an old dog that can't get around the neighborhood anymore, but he still thinks he can. So
I
it's
do
really
too.
sad because you can only get him so far. We actually had to have my son pick us up one time halfway around the loop because the dog couldn't walk. So now I take him in the woods and he can wander and do his thing. But it's good. It's been kind of helping me to because I've been going in a lot of different directions. So it's been helping me kind of calm and center a little bit more, but also letting go of some of the frustrations of growing. So as you grow in your skill set, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, there's been a lot of frustrations. I'm just going to say it. And so, trying to let go of that and trust, which again, for me, trust is not easy. So I've had a lot of those things I've tried to do with spirit.
Okay. Sounds like
Our
you've got
expectations
a
get us
plan.
into trouble.
Yeah.
Mhm. I read on Zoom for the first time for the Spiritualist Church. And I can say that it was the first time that doing anything like that, I had no anxiety. So I don't know, because I just said it's spirit that's doing the work. So I don't have to worry about it. I don't even have to get anxious about it. And it went really well. So now I have to see if it's going to work like that in person. Because I don't do my readings in person. I do email readings through meditation. So that's another thing that's different, that I can't sit there with a timer and say, okay, your loved ones only have 15 minutes to give me information. No, I can't do that. So I go into meditation and I write out all this stuff in my journal and I take a picture of it and I send it to them. And I've never had anybody come back. One person came back and asked me to explain something, but other than that, I've never had anybody say, oh, what did this mean? Because they understood it.
Do you see? We all work different. Like, I'm direct opposite of you. I will do platform in person all day long, every day. I've been asked to do readings for, spiritualist churches during COVID via Zoom. And I'm like, heart palpitations. I haven't done it yet because the idea of trying to do it over Zoom, now one-on-one all day long, but to do platform over Zoom, I can't wrap my brain around it. And of course, you and I both know my brain isn't what needs to wrap around it.
Mhm.
but I can't wrap my brain around it enough to realize that I don't need to wrap my brain around it.
And I'm like the total opposite as you. I would rather do it over Zoom because the camera actually picks up stuff, and that's what I'm reading is what the camera's picking up than in person. I don't know.
Right. We all work differently.
Yep.
And that's a beautiful thing, because imagine how boring it would be if we all worked the same.
It would be pretty boring.
Right. Tiffany, Lester, do you guys have anything to add?
The words of my sister and Tiffany and Colleen. For me, my basic is I need to let my ego go and just trust. That's
agree.
my basic.
That's a good one.
You know, sometimes if you just think of yourself as a puppet for spirit, you know, it kind of takes the ego right out of it.
Mhm.
You know, because if spirit's going to guide you to do what spirit's going to guide you to do, then basically just pull my strings, you know, let me do what I need to do.
Right.
I
One of
journal
the
a lot.
things that
That's a good thing too.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut her
No,
off.
you're
Go
fine.
ahead.
Oh no, we started at the same time. I'm sorry, but the whole idea of healing and stepping back to healing and doing just healing work, I think is a higher form of mediumship than mediumship itself, right? The healing process, and that's because you really focus on the energy coming through you, and you're just a conduit.
Right.
And if you spend the time just focused on that in healing, it helps you with your mediumship, because then all of a sudden you take you out of it and it's just flowing through you. So it's always helpful to, you know, if I'm struggling with mediumship for a week or two, to take myself off of mediumship and go back to healing, which was where I started. It recharges that connection where it flows through.
Tiffany, you have anything you want to add, hon?
Here she is. She says, I was so scared to do it over Zoom. I didn't think I could connect over the internet, but as my mom, oh, let me open the chat. It was just the little blurb that opened. Internet, but as my mom would say, I do amazing. I'm still learning to not be so scared about it. Once I'm up and doing messages, all the scary feelings go away and I feel so energized and confident. I know spirit has my back once I'm giving a message. It's just the thought of it beforehand that scares me. Yeah, I think we all experienced that in the beginning.
I think so too. Okay, so my turn. So my basics. I'm going to start off by first saying that a lot of people want to open up to their gifts, and I encourage that 100%, because you know the work that goes into it is so worth it. It's so rewarding, but you'll never know that if you don't do it.
Right.
But there is work. You know, it's not just like 1, 2, 3, wee. There's work that goes into it. So first and foremost for me is going within. However that is, whether that's meditating, whether that's walking in the woods, whether it's sitting at the ocean and just looking out and getting out of my head, going within helps me a lot. As Tammy mentioned, trusting spirit. And I normally don't do this, but I'm going to use a cuss word because that's the best way that I can describe it. When I get ready to go into my gifts, I have an imaginary fuck it bucket, and I take any anxiety I have and I throw it in there and I just go with it. I have to trust spirit. And if I'm too busy worrying about what I'm getting or judging it or what have you, that's a problem. Because that's when we don't do our best work, at least for me. Communing with spirit is very important to me. To sit with my guides and say, hey guys, I need your help with X, Y, and Z, or what do you need to relay to me? But just communing with spirit. Getting outside of my comfort zone. That's where all the magic happens.
Great.
It's where all the magic happens. And when I use the word magic, please don't take it the wrong way, because to me, magic is good stuff. That's where all the good stuff happens. And if I don't get out of my comfort zone, then I'm not allowing that to happen. And it's uncomfortable the first few times. Once you've been out of your comfort zone enough and the magic happens, the good juicy stuff, you get to a point where you kind of get excited to get out of your comfort zone. It may not feel good for the moment, but you get excited because good stuff is going to happen.
Something's happening. Yeah.
Right. Something came up with Dawn that I'm going to share how I deal with things with family members. I bring them in before they have a chance to come in, especially right after one graduates to spirit. I will, and I've done this a multitude of times because it's where the best healing happens. I had a godmother that as a kid used to be very physically abusive. And there was a lot of resentment there. And when she crossed over, I was sitting in a room and I just called her in. And we had our powwow and, we talked it out and there was forgiveness. And it was a great release. So for me, I call them in before they have a chance to surprise me. And periodically, I'll do that. Especially if I know that I'm going to do something like platform or something. Okay, which one of y'all needs to talk? Because let's do it. And I'll make the time like the night before. This one is huge for me. And not everybody's the same. So, what I'm telling you may not resonate with some people, and that's a-okay. For me, exercise is huge because I'm a ball of energy, and I probably am ADHD because as a kid I was so hyper, nobody wanted to deal with me. But if I don't exercise, I've found that I do not do my best mediumship. So, because spirit has to come down a notch and we have to go up a notch and kind of meet in the middle. So if I haven't expended that energy, it becomes very hard for me to raise my vibration to the point I need to meet them halfway. So that's a big one for me. And hey, that's all I got.
Like
That's
Colleen said, though, I think meditating and connecting with spirit, that raises our vibration too, and that raises our consciousness as well. And the same as exercising for you. But I think that the same as Colleen, if I don't connect with spirit in meditation and just talk, not looking for messages, anything, just talk, or just, match that energy, makes it much more easy when it comes time to give a message. When it's like talking to a good friend and knowing everything that you know about them, and then coming across somebody that you need to tell what that person's like, or what that energy's like, or whatever, and being able to get that message out there. And it definitely raises your vibration. However you meditate, people meditate by running around dancing, and it works for them. But I'm one of those ones that just gets real quiet, and I say turn myself inside out. I just go right in.
And people do. There's so many different ways to meditate. What you guys cannot see in my room, my office, is on the other side of this computer, I have a whole bunch of crystal bowls, a whole bunch of Tibetan bowls, 4 different gongs, and I will do my own meditations with sound.
Yep.
But also, when I talk about going within, sitting at the beach or the woods or whatever, that is also meditation, because you get out of here. You get out of your mind. And when you go within, that's exactly what you're trying to achieve. A lot of people say they have monkey brain. Go out in nature, because when you're out in nature, it's easier, I find anyways, to quiet that, and just to sit and be at one with the universe. Anybody else have any final thoughts? Yes, no, maybe? I guess that's a big no.
Well, this has been a good discussion, and maybe it'll help somebody who's struggling to know that you do have moments of struggle, and that you have to take it back, and you have to kind of rework things and try. When I find that I'm struggling, it's usually because I'm at a growth point. And if I take a step back, it makes it easier to move forward.
And let me tell you, those growth points, those are firewalks. And some of them are more fiery than others. And the way I like to explain firewalks is like an apartment building in New York City, a bunch of bricks. And if each level from the sidewalk up, if each brick represents a level, if you're on level 5 and you go to level 6, what worked for you here is pretty much going to work for you here. Guess what? Sometimes we go from 5 to 12. What worked for you here is in no way going to work for you here. So what happens? The universe will throw everything but the kitchen sink, and maybe sometimes the kitchen sink too, right at you. And, you're going to be sitting there going, oh my God, my life is just turning upside down, round and round. In the beginning years, I used to try to do what I call now, like damage control. And I would try to control or fix things as they came up. I kind of learned to do this. And let it happen. Because when you try to do the damage control, you just make it worse. And like Tammy said, we have to trust spirit. And your track record of getting through your toughest days is absolutely 100%, because you're still living and breathing.
They'll be the biggest blessings. The hardest days, what you go through that you think is the hardest, on the other end, looking back at it is a blessing
You
because you've
have,
learned.
yes, you have the honor and the privilege of meeting the new improved you on
Right.
the other side of that walk. You're the first person to have the honor and privilege of meeting the new and improved you. And when you look back at your worst times and you look back at when you got to the other side, you'll realize you weren't the same person anymore. You grew, and you grew a lot.
Mhm.
And you'll get to a point where you like, well, if you're a little bit touched like I am, you're like, bring it on. Where's the next one? Where's the next one? You know, that growth. Bring it, baby.
Well,
Go ahead.
and for somebody that's just starting and they sit and they listen to what we're talking about and they're like, how am I ever going to get to level 5, right? And how is it ever going to be like that? It's amazing how just by little bit, somebody said, well, how do I get to be like you? And I said, the difference between you and me is one thing. I've failed more times than you've tried.
Mhm. It's true. It's truth.
And each failure teaches you something new.
And you'll progress even without failures, just little by slowly. And you won't even sometimes realize it until you wake up one day and you're like, how did I get here? You know, just X number of months ago, I thought like this. And all of a sudden now I think like this. When and how did that happen?
Or
Because
try and
little by
explain
slowly.
some of the changes. Or try and explain some of the changes in your thinking and how it works in your brain. Because now it's just automatic, right?
And that's how it happens. That's the magic.
Ta-da!
Boom, there it is. So does anybody else have any final thought? Or any questions, anything? No? All right, then. We're going to stop recording. We're going to say good night to all of you out there. And may you guys have a great week. May it be as amazing as you.